The church at Bushland loves Jesus, and we love our community. This year, we're asking that you give us a year. Come see us, bring your family, come experience the church. This year, we're focused on 4 key things: know God, find freedom, discover purpose, and make a difference. Through Sunday morning worship, weekly life groups, and our numerous programs for children of all ages, we want you and your family to truly know Jesus as your personal Savior. So come visit us. Give the church at Bushland a year.
Welcome, Falcon fans, to the first edition of the 2022 Coaches Show. Coach, welcome back.
Thanks. Good to be back.
Absolutely. We've been anticipating this for a few months. I tell you, we were just talking how we have that lull period, and then all of a sudden it's, oh no, the season's here, right?
It gets here in a hurry. It's sure exciting, though.
Absolutely.
I feel like I missed the memo on the shirts here. Y'all look sharp, and I'm sorry.
We just left you out.
We're good. Well, Coach, we've got let's talk about last night real quick. So last night, West Plains comes in, and our underclassmen get their first 2 games of the year.
Yeah, they were exciting games for sure. It was a long night of football. 2 of the longest sub-varsity games we've had in a while. A lot of plays run. Wasn't always real clean in both games, but you kind of expect that, you know, in your first game, especially in the sub-varsities. But I thought our kids, both sides, both teams, kids played hard. A lot of those kids know each other and probably played each other in a lot of sports through the years. So there was a lot of competitiveness going on out there. Teams, those kids wanted to win. As far as our kids were concerned, I thought we played hard and did a good job and just kept fighting, and both games kind of found a way to win.
With West Plains being week 1, talk a little bit about that. Obviously new school, lots of media coverage. I mean, I actually think, if I'm not mistaken, this will be the battle of the 2 newest schools, because we were the newest in the area. Mm-hmm. Now West Plains is. They're getting all the media coverage. These kids do know each other. I mean, they are our neighbors. Heck, some of our kids went over there. Yeah. And so is this a little more personal, being in the locker room, being with those kids? Does it feel a little more personal than maybe other week 1s?
Oh, not for me. Maybe for the kids. I don't know. We've talked about that, situation just to try to prepare for it, going into this week. Obviously, week 1, regardless of who you're playing, is always going to be a big deal because everybody's excited for football to get going. Here we go again. And then you throw, this type of, I wouldn't say rivalry yet, but just, kids that know each other. Schools are fairly close. It's the closest school to us, as far as 11-man goes. So, I think it's, one of those things that we know, probably be a pretty decent crowd tonight. Lots of emotion for West Plains. Everything's going to be a first for them. First game. First, hopefully not first touchdown, they don't score, but everything's going to be a big deal,
Everything's
Absolutely.
a first for them.
Everything's a first. Everything's going to be a big deal, and we've got to be able to manage that as players, as coaches, just kind of weather the storm and just execute. And that's what we talk to the kids about is, don't get too high, or too low. We've got to just focus on executing and kind of stay the course through the game.
Speaking of the team a little bit, you've got a pretty good-sized senior class coming back this year. 22?
23, I think.
23, okay.
Yeah, 23 seniors coming back. A group that's always been, pretty good through the years. It means a lot to them. They care about it. They want to succeed. They want to do good things. So it's always nice to have, a big senior class. We've had success with smaller ones too before, so it's really just about the camaraderie, and welcoming those younger kids in too, because we tell all of our kids all the time, you're going to need those classes above you and below you. Mm-hmm. It's not about just you and your class. If those really good teams, they have good senior classes, but they have a good group behind them or 2 groups behind them, and you got to really depend on each other.
I was talking to Tate Butcher the other night, and the word legacy came up, and just what this means to them. What does it mean to have, obviously your captains, maybe share who the captains are, but just that senior leadership that realizes the bigger picture. It's not just about them.
Yeah. And that was when the kids voted on captains, they voted on it, their peers did. It was Tate Butcher, Baylor King, Ethan Thompson, Turner Johnson, Matt Bridges, and Ivan Soto. And, you know, what we do is we make those guys get up. If you want to be elected as a captain, you have to get up and kind of give a little quick speech and just why, you know, you should be elected, you know, why you deserve it. And then the kids vote on it. And, you know, there wasn't a single kid, senior. I'll bet we had a dozen or more stand up and talk. There wasn't one senior that stood up and talked that didn't have at least a couple of votes. So that said a lot to me. I knew we had good leadership. A lot of kids respected in that locker room. And, you know, ultimately when it came down to it, you know, there was, you know, those 6, you know, had the votes. And I think it's a good group. And we've had some talks already and some discussions about different things. And, you know, they'll come to me if there's something that I need to address that I don't know about or something maybe they want to do or change. And I'll do the same with them. You know, I'll go to them for advice. Hey, you know, what do we need to do here? Do we need to change anything up? You know, just work together. And I think it's a great group, to be honest with you.
Every team has its own personality that makes them unique, which is really great about high school. You get a new group of kids come in, you have some that mature over time. What are you seeing that maybe you think is special about this group that's maybe a little bit different than some other teams?
You know, I think some of just from being in the 11 years that I've been here, and then even you know, just throughout my career, I reflect back to the really good teams, to the great teams that I've been able to be a part of. And not only is there good football players, I mean, you got to have good football players, you know, but there's so much more to it than that. Yep. I've also seen teams that have good players, but they don't have good chemistry. They don't get along, and they're not a team that's all, you know, going one direction and not headed the same way. And the good ones, you know, that I've been a part of, the locker room is good. You know, they get along, they joke around. And that's what I feel with this group right now. You know, you go by those guys in you know, the locker room, and they're joking around, goofing around. They hang out together a lot. You know, I just think the chemistry's there.
So to get to the field in the game, obviously a lot of people excited about your new quarterback. What have you seen from DJ that you've really liked this coming into, you know, the 2 scrimmages? Obviously, you didn't show too much, but
right.
And you got a lot of reps for a lot of different guys. But what have you seen from DJ leading up into game 1?
I just think his composure, you know, his composure. I haven't seen him one time, you know, get down on himself or anybody, you know, visibly. And I just think he's a good leader by example. He's coachable, you know. We can talk to him about certain things, and, you know, he has a grasp of our offense for sure. You know, he's been playing quarterback in our offense since 7th grade, and I just think he's pretty even keel and composed. You know, I think all of our quarterbacks have done that. You know, going in, you know, through the scrimmages. You know, Jesse Cantrell's done a good job for us as well. You know, it's all new to him. You know, and he's done a great job. Smart kid of picking everything up. And a good leader as well. Then, you know, Matt Bridges has played a little bit of quarterback too, you know, through the years. Not so much the last couple of years, but 7th, 8th, and 9th grade, he was kind of one of those guys that played quarterback for that senior class. And, you know, if we need to use him, we could as well. But, you know, DJ's done a great job. And, you know, obviously he has some of the physical skills that we want, you know, as far as throwing the ball and running it. But as a quarterback, there's a lot more to it than that. And I just think his composure and, you know, just being coachable has been the things that stood out to me.
As you go into this first game, maybe the first couple of games, but when you look at this first game and you get to the end of the game and you're sitting on the bus coming back, what do you want to reflect and say, we accomplished what we wanted to do tonight?
Yeah.
What are those things you're looking for out of them tonight?
Every week, regardless of the opponent, we want to be more physical than our opponent. We want to play faster and have more fun. Talk about those things all the time. Fast, physical, fun. If we can do those things, you know, hopefully you execute in there as well too.
Yep.
You know, but, you know, execution is kind of a reflection on, you know, how you practice, and we think we practice the right way. And sometimes you can't control the execution, you know, but you can control how fast you play, how hard you play, how physical you are. And if we can control those things, week in and week out, I like our chances most of the time.
You know what to expect from on the physical side with Charlie and Easton and Matt, and on the defensive side. Who are some new names that may pop up tonight that have kind of, maybe a Fetch, somebody like that? You got a couple of those guys that have really kind of maybe, I don't want to say surprised you because you knew they were coming, but maybe have really stepped up this.
Yeah, that's – and I hate to leave anybody out, but just looking back on the scrimmages and practices so far, just kind of the ones that have kind of stood out. I think Brecken Reed has really stood out on the defensive side, playing a new position at free safety. He was kind of a linebacker for us last year, part-time. And, our free safeties, both him and Cole Purcell, we can rotate those guys, and they both have done really good things so far and showed up a lot. I think Austin Ryder showed up, quite a bit, done a solid job on defense. Mason Ferris has been another one that stood out to me through the scrimmages and just been quietly doing his job. Mason's not a big talker, but he's really stood out to me, through these scrimmages. I think Cannon Melbourne on the offensive line has kind of stood out for us and done a good job for us. And that's important for us, is to keep developing those offensive linemen and finding those new guys, because Charlie's going to play both ways. But Charlie plays like a wild man, and he needs a break, And we've got to develop some other linemen, to help rotate those guys, because that's we're going to win it in the trenches, but those guys can't be gassed all the time. Easton Fuentes has been another one up front that stood out. I think our defensive front has been overall a really bright spot for us, through the first two scrimmages.
It's funny. I feel like I've been calling Charlie's name forever, and he's still just a junior, right? So what a great thing to have him. So you can bring somebody in as a freshman and watch them play, all 4 years. So moving on from the football game itself, some things to expect next week. We were just talking about it. We had a few upgrades at the stadium from a lights perspective. That's kind of exciting.
It is. Yeah, we had some new lights installed. There were some throughout our schools. But as far as athletics, go specifically, our gym got the new LED lights. It's really bright in there. It looks really good at the football stadium. They just got those finished yesterday.
Just in time.
Just in time. When one for sure if it was going to get done or not. But we needed them done, and they look good. We're appreciative of that.
There's nothing to push anybody on a hard deadline, right?
So, yeah.
And you notice that everybody seems to wait right up to that deadline, too. And so,
even we do.
We do. We were sitting here scrambling right before we got on here. But, and speaking of looking ahead, let's talk about the schedule real fast, because it's a doozy of a schedule. You talk about being playoff ready come playoff time. We will be. What kind of thought went into when you built that schedule? Was that the thought? Was that the mindset? Let's get ready, maybe playoff ready even before district.
Yeah, I think you want to. There's no better way to see where you're at, get yourself ready, and know what you need to work on than playing good opponents. I think when you look at it, you want to play quality teams for sure, and if you can, you'd like to play somewhat close, so you're not traveling everywhere. This year's varsity schedule is actually a really good travel schedule.
Oh, yeah. I saw that. I was excited.
It'll kind of flip a little bit next year, but it's not anything that we're not used to. But, you look through our schedule, there's some really good programs, good teams, good staffs, good football players on all, every week. And that's going to be good for us. It'll be a challenge. It'll test our depth, and hopefully, like you said, we want to be playing our best football come district and playoffs. And we want to really start working towards that peak in district. And one of our first team goals is to win the district championship. Keep improving every week. District gets here, we want to try to be playing our best ball to win district championship. And then we reset, refocus, and we hit it in the playoffs. And, when you get to that point, then, the tournament, some people call it, it's just 1 week at a time. So, that's, a lot of good teams. We're going to have to be ready to go, and it's exciting, though.
Well, I'm ready to kick this thing off tonight. I tell you, just the anticipation, and we're just announcers. You know,
Yeah.
when you get to actually coach and play, it's a whole other side of things. But we're excited. Kickoff's at 7:00 in Canyon.
Yes.
Right? I think this is our first time to play there since the whole redo, right? And we haven't played there in quite a while. I don't
No,
think.
I feel like the last time we played there was maybe fall of 2013 that I can remember. I think we played there. I think when like Taylor Cornelius was
Yeah, I, was
quarterback.
gonna say, I don't think
playoff
we've played
game
since
there.
we've been here.
I think it was 2013, and we played Slayton there in the playoffs. So, and I haven't even been in there since the redo.
Yeah, I haven't
So,
either. I was telling Toby I'm excited to come see it.
Yeah, I heard it's
their
nice.
facility. So.
What's it going to be like? Just and not to go back to the game, but big stadium. I mean, obviously Randall and Canyon are both away tonight, so they're expecting a massive crowd. We've heard numbers 10, 12,000. I'm sure those things are floating around, and you never know what to expect. But how do you get ready? Those boys have never ran out of a tunnel and seen that many kids. I mean, we just don't have them out here at Falcon Stadium. Do you do anything different in preparation of that?
No, I did tell the kids, there's a chance we could have a pretty big crowd. And I told them that just to be ready for it. That way, when we step out there, it's not, wow, and our eyes aren't this big around. But the bottom line, I'm kind of pull the Hoosiers type deal, but you go out there, the football field is the same. It's 100 yards from goal line to goal line, just like it is out here, or Cowboy Stadium, or wherever you go, and it didn't. All that is going to be fun atmosphere and everything, but the game's going to be won in between the lines, in between the whistles, and that's what we can't forget.
Yeah, it's that first snap, right? It's the first snap,
Yeah.
getting that out of the way, getting those first set of plays, get your first series on offense, your first series on defense. Once those are settled, I think they'll settle in. But it's really getting past those first, like we were talking about earlier, I think.
Yeah.
All right, well, I think we can wrap it up. First off, I want to thank our new sponsor for the Coaches Show this year is the church at Bushland. That's where we're at right now. We're actually in the youth building, so that's the new setup that you're seeing today. So thanks to the church at Bushland for hosting us and for sponsoring the Coaches Show this year. Really appreciate that. Kickoff's at 7:00. Hopefully we'll go live at 6:30. We are going to be on YouTube this year, not Facebook. We will post a link to that on the Facebook page, but we will be on YouTube this year. And anything else, Stephen?
I don't
Lots
think
of new
so.
sponsors you'll see.
You will. You'll see some new faces. Obviously, with new technology, just comes new costs, and those sponsors make this possible. And so we definitely make sure tonight check it out, and always go to thank them because they're a big reason why we get to do this.
Most of them will be in the stands.
They will.
So, well, for Stephen Lyles, Coach Reynolds, thank you, and we will see you tonight.
Go Falcons.